Bookstore. I'm Craig Kennedy, the operation manager here at the bookstore in downtown Fairfield, Connecticut. The good news is we will be reopening May 27th with hours of 10 to 4 daily. So if you don't know us, I give you a big welcome and an invite to come and say hello anytime you like. But here I am hosting two dear friends and a few details up front. You can purchase the book from Fairfield University Bookstore website. I will post the link later. And if you make your purchase by Thursday, you can have your book personalized if you wish. Just indicate in the gift receipt box how you'd like your book personalized. And if you're interested in just an author signature, that's easy. We'll have plenty of copies on hand. And again, in-store pickup will be available after May 27th. And don't forget, we have copies of their other two biggies, The Last Mrs. Parrish and The Last Time I Saw You, on hand as well. I'm so delighted to introduce Lynne Constantine, also known to me, my good friends Lynne and Valerie. Their other two biggies, The Last Mrs. Parrish and The Last Time I Saw You. And they are internationally best authors. To introduce Lynne Constantine. Also, hold on, guys. Let me get rid of there we go. Okay, I'm back. They're, of course, the authors of the internationally best-selling Last Mrs. Parrish, which was, as you know, a Reese Witherspoon Book Club pick, People Magazine Best New Books pick, and a Library Journal selection. And they are back with The Wife Stalker, already on the Goodreads, Pop Sugar, She Reads, Most Anticipated Lists, and Library Reads selection for May. And moderating tonight is DJ Palmer, who is the author of the recently released The New Husband, which Kirkus Review called well-crafted, increasingly tense page-turner, as well as a personal favorite, Saving Megan, which Daniel I read and loved. I will turn the evening over to my esteemed authors. And again, thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Craig, for that awesome introduction. Hello, everybody. I am DJ Palmer. Actually, I'm Daniel Palmer. And it is a high honor and privilege for me tonight to be the moderator for this amazing book launch. Lynne Constantine, Lynne and Valerie celebrate their book and just jump right into it and start with the most important question of all. Lynne, Valerie, how are you guys doing? I am DJ Palmer. Actually, I'm Daniel Palmer. And it is a high honor and privilege for me tonight to be the moderator for this amazing book launch. Constantine, Lynne and Valerie. You hear that? Celebrate their book. And let's just jump right into it and start with the most important question of all. Lynne, Valerie.
There we go. Doing fine. We're happy to be here. Wish that we were in person.
It is a high honor and privilege for me tonight to be the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go with we're having a momentary technical challenge, but we're going to solve that. I don't know if we have solved it or not solved it. We're going to try again. Lynne, we're going to go with you. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Okay. How are you?
We're doing great. And Valerie, are you doing well? This has got to be the most unusual book launch of your careers. Am I correct?
Amazing book launch. Yes, we're loving it, and
you are.
We're feeling our way through, just like everybody else during these crazy times.
Well, let me ask you. You've done how many? This is book number 3 for you guys. So, what is it that you miss? Let's just talk first about what you miss about the online or the in-person experience, and do you have any fun stories from past book launches, things that you really enjoyed, things that made them special, and what have you experienced so far in this virtual book launch, and how do those compare?
Can I start? Is that
Yeah.
all right? Okay.
I told you she always has to go first.
You guys can raise hands too. I can see your hand go up, so I will call on you.
Hello, call on me. You know, I really miss seeing the readers, meeting people, and being in a bookstore. I so miss being able to walk into a bookstore and touch the books and open them and look at them, and then meeting the readers who come to the events. There's just nothing like it. And so doing it virtually is a lot more difficult. But one of the funny things that happened to us when we were on the parish book tour was a woman in the audience, and I can't remember, I think it might have been in Scottsdale. And anyway, she raised her hand in the back for the questions, and she said, I have to tell you that my name is Mrs. Parrish. Do you remember that? And so I really loved reading this book. So that kind of thing that you sort of don't get when it's virtual.
Lynn, what about you? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a memory that stands out for you in the book touring time?
Well, I think the first, when we came out with Parish, and our first event was in Westport, and then we did one in Fairfield. We actually had a great party for the last Mrs. Parrish in Fairfield. The Fairfield U and Craig organized it, and we did it at the Del Mar, which is a really pretty hotel there. And it was just really a lot of fun, and we felt like we were in Bishop's Harbor because it's so similar to the setting of the book, and it was just a lot of fun having all of these people. They even made a special cocktail, a Bishop's Harbor cocktail. Remember that, Val?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm very social, and I'm an extrovert, so I really like being with people. You know, from Thriller Fest. I mean, I just really miss being with readers, with booksellers, and with other authors together. So that's been, I think, the hardest thing for me is having to. I mean, it's nice to be able to see everybody this way, but I really want to be able to sit down and hang out.
Right. Well, that's totally understandable. And I feel like tonight we kind of we're gonna go for that energy.
Okay.
We're gonna go for that energy. So I believe that that people who are viewing at home, wherever you guys are watching this, you can send in questions. I will be able to receive your questions through the magic of technology, and I will be able to ask your question of these two fabulous authors. So please don't be shy. Let us know what is on your mind. Otherwise, it's going to be what's on my mind, and hopefully, obviously, what's on the minds of Liv Constantine. And let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into why we're here, into The Wife Stalker. First of all, huge congratulations. It's a big thrill, obviously, to get your book out there. But here's my question. How do you talk about this book? I read this book. It's a super fast page turner. You keep going. But it's kind of a hallmark now, a little trademark calling card of the Liv Constantine brand, that nothing is as it seems. So tell us about this book, but how do you tell us about a book that's without giving away what's going on in the story?
That is the $10,000 question, right?
Trick.
It's a trick question. So the book is, on the surface, it appears to be about two women vying over one family. And the tagline is, she wants the perfect family, ... yours. So the question becomes, this woman, mysterious woman, Piper, who comes into town and who steals away.
Piper, who is this? She's pretty perfect.
She's pretty, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
From
You
California.
guys get annoyed writing that kind of a character? You're like, oh my God. And you stop being so perfect.
Exactly. She's very chill. She's very zen. She's got her yoga practice. She's very confident. But the question becomes, and she goes after Leo and the kids. Does she love them, and does she want a perfect family, or does she have a different intent? And that's what Joanna thinks. And so the reader doesn't know. And we alternate between the two women's perspectives, and they're very, very different women.
So which of you
It's
came
the
up with that
yoga.
idea? Who came up with the idea? Who's getting
I
credit?
thought you were going to say which one of us is perfect. But
Oh,
I thought you were going to ask.
I'm not going there. I'm assuming you both are perfect.
oh, thank
But
you.
who came up with the idea first? Who's the one who had the vision?
I did. No.
She always says that. No, we came up with, we always come up with it in an iterative fashion together. So, one of us will say, what if blah, 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 and the other one will say, and what if this? And So for this one, it was, I think I can't say too much, but I think I said to Valerie, well, what if there was a woman who, and then she said what she said. And then I looked at it and she said it as a joke initially, the twist. And then we said, no, yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to do. So.
You have to know what's going to happen at the end. You can't write a book like this without knowing where you're going to take the reader on this journey. Is that right? Or do you guys have no clue what you're doing when you get started?
No, we're in the middle, right? I mean, it changes sometimes. I mean, sometimes we don't exactly know what's going to happen at the end. We'll say, well, we'll figure that out. And in this case, the ending got tweaked a little bit and changed, which again, we can't, like that last, if you remember that last sentence in the book was something.
I do. I love that last sentence. Nobody, hey, I'm talking to you audience right now. Do not read the last page first. I know some people do. Have you ever done that?
Yes, Daniel, when I was reading your book, which I told you, The Last Husband, which I'm going to tell everybody as well, you have to pick up. I was so nervous. You remember I emailed you and I said, I can't stand it. I'm going to look ahead and see what happens.
You had to know. Well, all right.
I had to know.
I'm not reading the book, in which case do what you need. Do what you need. Yeah. But speaking of reading, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't know who has the golden voice for this, but would you read just a little bit from The Wife Stalker, I believe?
I will read from the golden voice. No, I will read from The Wife Stalker. This is from chapter 1 of The Wife Stalker, and it is Piper's chapter. So
Piper's
the perfect yoga instructor, meditation guru.
Do you do yoga? Did you have to study yoga to write the book? Did you
get one yoga class, and I had to go to the chiropractor after. So
one yoga class and ended up in the chiropractor?
I work out, but not yoga. Yeah, it's not my thing.
Really? So, and you're done. No more yoga. You're out on yoga.
No, I do weights and cardio, but no more. No, I'm just not made for yoga.
Can you work out at home? You have a good home workout?
Yeah, I do. I have yeah.
All right, good. All right, Valerie, let's hear from Valerie on the Wife Stalker, Chapter 1 from Piper.
Piper Renard pulled into the parking lot of the Phoenix Recovery Center and parked in her reserved spot. When she'd been forced to leave San Diego 10 months ago, she wasn't sure where to go, only that she wanted to be as far away from the West Coast as possible. It had to be somewhere near the water, though, so that she could still sail on the weekends. And it needed to be a place where she could start over without standing out. After extensive research, she'd settled on Westport, Connecticut, a jewel of a town on the coast of Long Island Sound. The former home of Paul Newman and other celebrities, it had a sophisticated vibe and was just over an hour away from New York City by train. But best of all, it was the kind of place that attracted people from all over, rather than the kind of small town where everyone's family had lived for generations, making them nosy about newcomers. She'd found the perfect house, a sprawling white clapboard on the water, and joined a yacht club where she kept the sailboat she bought as soon as she came east. The one problem she had to overcome was how to reinvent herself. She couldn't continue with her counseling practice as her license was in her real name. So the next best thing was a business in a similar field. She'd been incredibly lucky to find an existing one for sale and bought the Phoenix Recovery Center a few weeks after moving to Westport. All she'd had to do was have a lawyer set up an LLC for her under the name Harmony Healing Arts. It had already been a thriving business offering meditation retreats, mindfulness recovery programs, and nutrition and yoga classes. She grabbed her briefcase from the passenger's seat, slid out of her Alfa Romeo Spider, and walked toward the entrance of the building, feeling a sense of pride as she looked up at the sleek two-story structure of glass and cedar. She unlocked the front door and went directly to her office. It was still early, 6:30 a.m., but Piper liked to be there well before the center opened at 8. It gave her time to get centered before she thrust herself into her busy day. She took a quick look at her calendar to check the time of her appointment with Leo Dracos. He called her out of the blue last week and asked her to discuss a client he was defending in a murder case. She opened her laptop to check the social media accounts for Phoenix. Instagram first. Another 300 followers. Excellent. It must have been the podcast episode she'd uploaded yesterday, on filling your well before trying to fill someone else's. Twitter next. 35 retweets of her blog post on selfishness being the new selflessness. And on Facebook, the center hit 10,000 likes. A very good morning indeed. She dimmed her office lights and pressed play on her iPad. As the soothing sounds of WC filled the room, she closed her eyes and leaned back in the chair. Maybe things were really going to be different here. They had to be. She couldn't keep starting over and finding new places to hide.
Dun, dun,
Okay.
dun.
All right. Couple things. Valerie, you're an amazing reader. That was so great. It is a very tricky art to be a great reader, and you really did a fantastic job. In fact, I'd like you to read tonight. I'm going to call you. I just set up the phone. Reading, keep reading. Let me just remind folks, anybody who is joining us a little later, Dana Palmer, here moderating this great book launch with Liv Constantine, the dynamic sister duo behind smash hits like The Last Miss Parrish and The Wife Stalker, which just came out today, which, by the way, is available for purchase with signed copies. Am I correct? Signed copies from the Fairfield University Bookstore. And I believe the link is provided here in this Facebook feed where you are viewing this. So check out that link, Fairfield University Bookstore, for The Wife Stalker. You just heard chapter 1 from The Wife Stalker. And let me ask you, Lynn, we talked about these messing with people's expectations in your books, and you guys are amazing at it. I have to be honest, I had no clue where you were taking this story, and I was completely blown away, completely surprised. Do you feel like you have to constantly try to outdo yourself? Do you feel this intense pressure to come up with something so unexpected? How does that work into your writing process?
We definitely do. I mean, and at the same time, we want it to be unexpected, but not crazy. I mean, it can't just be unexpected or different for the sake of that. So we do a lot of brainstorming and discussions, and we'll go before we come up with our next book idea. I mean, it could be days, weeks, where we're talking for two or 3 hours and, proposing things and saying, no, that's just not it. That's just not it. And then we'll hit on it. So, I mean, we finished our 4th book, which we like the twist in that. And then we have a pretty good idea of where we're going for the 5th book. So once we have that twist, the rest of it, it's not easy, but the rest of it at least comes along. But that is the really hard part, is trying to come up with something original. Because so much has been done, and there's a lot in the genre. But we do definitely feel like we have to do something different, and it can't be cliched, and it can't be too insane that people say, oh, that which just would never happen.
What about for you, Val? Do you feel the pressure?
Absolutely, yes. And as Lynn said, you can't keep writing the same book. And so there is that time of just talking and going back and forth with each other of what can we take, what kind of just common situation can we take and sort of flip it around, turn it on its head. Well, I mean, you do the same.
So do you sit there, you start with a situation, you're like, what if, you just keep going back and forth?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Is the more wine involved, does that usually help?
We should, though. No, we don't really do that.
You've done every twist has been sans wine.
We did come up, we were in Sharjah at the book festival, and we came up with book 4. So we probably were drinking. Although no, we couldn't drink in Sharjah. We were in the hotel then. So no.
Well, then it's a thing. Now you can't.
Right? So yes.
No wine.
Maybe vodka. I don't know. Yeah, no wine.
So would you ever write a book without a huge twist, or would you feel like you can't do that because that's not your thing?
As Liv, I don't think that we would.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Lynn writes independently, and I'm working independently also, and it's just women's fiction. So
wait a second, I feel like that's a big one. Let's jump into that for just a moment. So you guys are both independently writing as well as writing the Liv Constantine books.
Right. I'm writing the conspiracy thrillers as Elsie Shaw, and because I mean they have twists as well, but they're a different type of book. They're more well, like I said, political conspiracy thriller, more action oriented, a higher body count than with the psychological thrillers that Valerie and I write. And that's a series with a guy named Jack Logan. So I've written one that came out in December called The Network, and then the second one comes out in September. And that's what I've been focusing on in terms of separate. But I don't know. It's hard, as you know, writing that many, trying to do it 2 books a year. So we'll see. And then I'll let Val talk about her project.
Yeah, what are you doing, Val?
As I said, it's pretty much contemporary women's fiction, no twists. And I've been working on it probably too long.
Oh, so it's like a labor of love. And so after you're done working all day, writing, revising, editing, you're like, you know what I really should do right now is write
Yes.
another book. I don't know how you do that. I did it for a little while, and I found it a little tiring, personally. You know what I wouldn't find tiring?
What?
If the phone rang. I'm guessing this is what happened. I don't know if this is what happened, but I'm guessing. I'm making it up in my mind. I'm gonna go with Lynn. You're home. You're cutting a zucchini. The sink is going. There's maybe some music going. The dog is barking outside. The river is flowing, and the phone rings. And you pick it up, and you're like, "Hello," and on the other end is Reese Witherspoon saying, "I have good news. I'm picking your book for my book club." Is that what happened? Did it happen like that?
Everything except for the zucchini. I was not cutting a zucchini.
It
right?
wasn't a zucchini.
It wasn't a zucchini.
Talk to me about Reese. Tell me what Reese said. Did you talk to Reese? How'd that go down?
We didn't talk to Reese. I mean, she did message me on Instagram, but I mean, that's not how we found out. So
Did she private message you on Instagram? These are very important.
No, she did private message me. She actually shared the book in a story, and this was when I was just learning Instagram, and I had to call my daughter and say, okay, what am I supposed to do? Do I like this? And she's like, yes, you need to like it and send her a message.
Reese Witherspoon sends you a message, and now you don't know Instagram at all. You have your first book is out, and you're trying to figure out how to connect with Reese.
Right. I'm like, what do I say? She says, well, say that. So I write, thank you. We're so thrilled. And she writes back, I just figured out there were 2 of you this week, like with a laughing face. And so then I said again to my daughter, so what do I say now? So she's like, just like it, do a hard thing on there. So I did, took a screenshot, all of it. It was very nerve wracking. I didn't think I would be starstruck. You think that you can talk to anybody, but I was really nervous. And like I said, so now I'm much better at Instagram and totally could message anybody. But at the time it was unnerving but yeah, thrilling. But we didn't find out from her. We found out from our agent. And apparently a lot of authors do get to meet her, but it was close to Christmas. And I think that was why we didn't get the opportunity to do so. But
do you think would you have a chance to meet Reese? How cool would that be to meet Reese Witherspoon?
Really cool. And maybe if she would do a movie. I mean, we always wanted her to play Daphne. Had always hoped. So maybe if she picks up one of the books, as a project, it's possible.
Well, actually, let me jump over to Val on this, because as I understand it, now this doesn't happen for everybody, ladies. I just have to tell you that. Not every book debuts and becomes a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. And then the next book, right, The Last Time I Saw You, got picked up for a movie. Is that right? Do I have that right? What is the story behind that, Valerie?
Yeah, we're still negotiating the contract, but yes, we're hopefully that will happen. We do, yeah.
Did I breach something? Was there like
no, so, no, not at all. No, we can't say who, but actress picked it up with her producer, and we've been, how it takes a long time, so we've been negotiating the contract. So we're hopeful that will happen. But
well, Valerie? What? Tell me from your perspective. What? Did you dream this was going to happen for you? Did you think, oh, I'm a little girl, I'm writing stories, all I want to ever do is be a writer, and all of a sudden Reese Witherspoon and the movies are happening? Where were you? Go back however many years, and then to now.
I wanted to be a singer. I had
You
no-
did?
Yeah, I wanted to be
What kind of singer? Like,
I didn't have a good enough voice to be a singer that would be, a standout singer. But that would have been if I could have a dream job, that would be a singer.
okay.
So writing was the fallback. No, not really.
You always wanted to be a
I
writer?
always wanted to write. And I always felt, how some people say, a lot of people say, I just feel like I've got a book in me. And so I think I always believed that. I don't know if I always believed that I could do it or that I would accomplish that, make myself do it. So I don't think it was something that was my dream growing up. I went in different directions career-wise. So
Then what was the moment where you said to your sister, hey, I have an idea. Why don't we team up and write a smash international bestseller that Reese Witherspoon is going to pick up, and then do another one that's going to be turned into a movie? When did that happen?
Actually, we got together 20 years ago to write a book.
You did?
Yeah, we wrote a book, and we wanted it to be an Oprah pick. Remember?
That's right. That was what our
Based, right? And it wasn't. She didn't call us.
Did it get published? The book didn't get published.
So that was women's fiction. Actually, that was a story about a Greek family. It was about two Greek sisters. It was not autobiographical in any way.
But you haven't done a sister's story yet, have you? There's not.
Just that one. That one wasn't, I mean, there was some intrigue in it, but it was really more, we're Greek. It was a story of a Greek family. And the way that it happened was we always read the same books and talked about them with our mom and with our aunt. And back then we read a lot of family sagas, and it was more ethnic fiction about Italian families, Irish families. And I said to Val, there really aren't any books about Greek families. And we both all of us married non-Greeks, and our grandmother died before my children ever had a chance to meet her. So we wanted to write something that would kind of leave a legacy of what it was like for those earlier immigrants coming over and being exposed to that. So we wrote Circle Dance together. I actually went and bought a book, How to Write and Sell Your First Book, because I always buy a book anytime I need to learn how to do anything. That's, what else are you going to do?
Seems like a good way to go.
Right? And
But then what happened, as we were finishing the book, before we had an agent, a movie came out.
Oh, I know which movie.
right.
Take a guess.
I bet you it's my something wedding. My
big fat Greek wedding.
One.
Which was nothing like our book, because our book was it was definitely more mainstream, more middle upper class family, but still, so that book I think we took too long of a time just hoping it was going to do something, as opposed to continuing to write more books, which later we learned you just keep writing the next book, because we've had a couple other that we've put in drawers.
Okay.
But as Valerie said, we really were hoping for Oprah. And my mom actually, she stopped watching Oprah after a while because she didn't pick us up, and she, was not happy with her.
Go mom. I mean, I kind of dig that. I mean, it's Oprah.
Yeah.
I give Oprah a pretty big leeway there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Good for mom, though.
Yeah.
So that book, whatever happened to that book? Is it in the drawer still? Did you take it out?
It's out there. I mean, it was published by a small publisher. Like, I think maybe 5,000 copies were done. And this was 2004, pre-ebook, internet, all of that. And then I moved to Connecticut. We both went our separate ways career-wise. And we ended up purchasing the rights back in maybe 10 years later, I guess, Val.
It was, yeah.
Re-editing it, putting it on ebook, and just so it's out there. But
It's available now.
It is available.
It's available, but it's a very early work. So we always say, it's a nice story.
Don't worry about that book. You're buying the White Stalker.
Exactly. Yeah. Forget the other.
Right. This is the plug section of the moment here, whatever we're doing, the book launch. That's what it is. Remember, it is at Fairfield University Bookstore. Signed copies available. Link in the linky thing, wherever that is on Facebook. I'm sure you're going to find it. Let me ask you this question. It's actually an audience question, but it feeds into the discussion that we're having. And it's about character. So you wrote these Greek sisters and this Greek story based on, you did what everybody does, which is write what you know to
Right.
start. It's a good way to get into the business. But as you're creating now these other kinds of characters, you've created, there's some pretty despicable people, I would say, that you've written in your book. There's some, maybe some questionable moral judgments here. So tell me about these characters that you create. Do you become emotionally invested in these people? Do you identify with the horrible aspects of them? Do you find the good in the worst people? Do you have an easier time writing the evil, nefarious types than the other types, or describe that kind of part of your writing experience?
It's definitely more fun writing the nefarious characters. Amber was a blast to write. Jackson was interesting. I mean, I think we connect to all of our characters, but taking those ones that are really wild and going as far as we can, it's fun because it's not something obviously that we're going to do in real life. And it's a lot of fun writing these scenes and then sending them to each other. And sometimes we will say, I want you to read it on FaceTime because we want to see the other person's reaction to what we've written. And,
so you write a character, you write a moment in the scene, and then you FaceTime each other and read it out loud to each other. You haven't sent it to.
Or sometimes we'll send it. I mean, we typically will, but if it's something really over the top or something that we want to get the reaction, we'll send it and we'll just watch as the other person reads it. Or sometimes we'll read it to each other. It just depends. But we have a lot of fun. But I think that they're the easier to write than.
They're more fun to write, I think.
Yeah.
The twisted ones.
But then it does make writing the other characters a little more difficult, I think, because the twisted ones are really interesting, and so you have to be able to balance that and have the other characters be interesting. The so-called sociopaths or whatever are charming people often in real life, and so they can be a really attractive character in some aspects. Obviously, their behavior is pretty horrible, and they're liars and on. But there are also, I think that we have in all of these kinds of characters, there is, I think at the bottom of them, there is a teeny bit of a sort of a vulnerability. I mean, the word psychosis in Greek is suffering soul. So I think there is that little piece that maybe that you not necessarily feel sorry for, but maybe think they're not all.
Well, right, and we try to give them a motivation for what they don't think that they're terrible. I mean, the behavior that they're engaging in is something that they feel justified in for whatever reason, and they don't think that they're doing anything wrong, or at least we try to make it appear that way, because we don't just want to write. We're not writing, horror. We're not writing just people who are going in and slashing and doing this. And we do, I think, especially like in the last time I saw you, we brought some mental health. There's really mental health issues, I think, that come in all of them. And there's a character in that book that we actually, who did things that were wrong, but we felt very deeply attached to and felt bad for that character. I mean, to the point really where the ending made both of us cry. So we don't think anybody is all good or all bad. I mean, there are some that are more on the spectrum than others, but we really do try to be as authentic to the character and not write something just to be different or to be interesting, but to really dig deep into whatever that motivation is and whatever trauma has in that person's past has caused to make that person and that character the way it is. So
do you do like a long bio on these characters? Do you write out like every detail you can think of, what shows they watch, I don't know, what car they drive or whatever? Like, do you do all that, or do you just kind of get a general feel and start writing?
We do all of that.
Except for the shows. We should do that. We don't really think
We don't do the shows, right?
Yeah, so what would Piper, like, I don't know, what is she streaming?
Killing Eve.
No.
That's a
Piper would be watching like more probably documentaries and nature and maybe some old movies, I think.
TED Talks. And
TED Talks, yeah, definitely TED Talks, right?
So Val, Lynn has confessed to crying at the end of a scene or a character's
Mhm.
fate. Have you had that? Do you have that emotional
Yes.
connection
Yes.
as well?
Yes. We both cried at the end of the last time I saw you.
Mhm.
And I don't think I cried in The Wife Stalker. Can you
No.
remember the time that you cried?
Yes, we did cry at the window.
You did?
Yeah, with the scene with Leo's mother.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. that's
Oh
right.
yeah, so there's that character. There's that thread with the kind of a manipulative mother thread. Is that something that you have written?
Oh, the Greek mother.
I don't want to make any assumptions about your life, your upbringing, but
Oh, the other mother. Oh, Joanna's mother. Yeah.
Joanna's
No, she was nothing like our mother. No. I thought you meant Leo's mom, who was the one with the one with all.
well, Leo's mom was another good
Leo's mother
mom
was great.
character.
Yeah.
Cooking
Yeah.
the food and bringing the right.
I mean, we are Greek, so we do have the Greek. We do get the Greek guilt trip a little bit growing up, but not. I wouldn't say too manipulative, but we're no stranger to a little guilt.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
Worry Jane too.
Yes.
Well, so Lynn, we talked a little bit about Valerie's dream, where she wanted to go in life. She wanted to be a singer. I don't know what kind of songs, Valerie, you were going to sing. Was it show tunes? Were you like a show tunes person?
Show tunes, yeah. Definitely not opera.
But Broadway, you saw yourself.
Broadway would have been, yeah. Or
What was-
concerts.
Like, what would have been your favorite Broadway? Like, if you
Opera.
could have been in a Broadway musical, which one would it have been?
Oh, The King and I. Or South Pacific.
Oh, this is an aside, and I promise it's very short, but I used to audition for the musicals in my junior high school. And every single time I would leave the stage going, definitely the lead. I definitely got the lead. Did you hear that? I crushed it. And then I would go and they'd post the cast list and I'd do this like kind of like scan. And I'm like, radio operator McCaffrey is the lead? I didn't know that. And I had like a line in the back. I would just like, my line would be like, we've lost them. And then that was it. Like there was not, and so I think I was like you, I had a dream and maybe not the skills to, but so Lynn, before you were this writer, tell us about your journey to, because now you guys are available in, is it 32 countries? Is that right? Am I getting that number right?
I think so, yeah.
Crazy number, like what languages are you guys trained? Like that's unbelievable, right? Did you ever think that was going to happen for you when you set out on this? I know you thought Oprah, so I guess maybe.
So we did have, no, I mean, the writing wasn't always a dream from early. I mean, I always liked to write. I wanted to be a psychologist for a long time, and which now I get to write about a lot of psychological disorders. And when I was, even before that, I had always thought about criminal law. So I think both of those tie into what I like to write about, which is criminals and people who need psychiatrists or psychologists. And then I went into marketing and I was trying to write, ever since Val and I wrote Circle Dance when the kids were little, then I was playing back and forth with writing this thriller. But again, I wasn't very disciplined and I would work on it and I would stop working on it. And so I would talk about it for a long time. It really wasn't until I went to Thriller Fest about 8 years ago. And I started meeting all of these people who had written 10, 15, 20 books. And I'm sitting on my laurels on this one book. And I thought, listen, stop calling yourself a writer. If you want to write, then you need to write. And so that's when I got serious, which was, like I said, about 8 years ago. And it took, within that time, I wrote The Network, which was called something different at the time. Valerie and I wrote another book that didn't get published. And then we wrote The Last Mrs. Parrish, and we were submitting. So there was about 3 years of writing, submitting, getting rejected, just trying to get an agent, going on and on before finally it happened, and taking writing classes. So I buckled down about 8 years ago, and it took like half of that time, right? It's been, or a little more than that for it to finally happen. But once I knew that that's what I wanted to do, I was determined, and I knew that I wasn't going to stop. no matter what. And if I got rejected 100 times, I was going to submit it 101 times. So, but it wasn't from like a long time ago.
So now that you guys have done it and you've had this success, I mean, what do you really think of the job? Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
I love it.
Like like, are you like, oh my God, I am so glad I pursued this dream and I was doggedly determined? Or do you ever go, what am I doing? How am I here? I can't do this. Like, where are you at in terms of that?
I mean, I feel very blessed. I feel like this is my dream job now. I mean, I would write no matter what. So if all of a sudden, whatever happened, and, you know, we had 10 movies made, or I mean, it's not about doing it anymore just for the money. I mean, the money it's great to make money, but I love the writing, and I love doing it, and I hope I can do it forever until I'm not here anymore. Like, I don't have an end in sight. It's, you know, not that it isn't hard, and there are days that it's tough, but I can't think of any other job that I would rather
do. You feel the pressure? Do you guys feel, are you like, oh man, I'm going to go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, I'm going to look at my sales rank, I'm going to read all my reviews, I'm going to see what people are saying. Do you do all that, or are you just in a bubble?
Val doesn't do it. I do it. I obsess about it, and it's not good. I mean, I shouldn't do it, but I know it's the first thing I do every day is check everything out.
You don't do any of that.
No, I don't look at reviews because if I do, I'll look at the bad reviews, and
right.
And
why is that?
That's where I go, and that's not great for me. And you know, Lynn said earlier that she really, you know, I'm an extrovert, and I'm really missing seeing people. I'm a total introvert, and so this is the perfect job for me, to be by myself and write, and you know, and then of course, not that I'm a hermit and never go out, but I do like having this sort of solitary kind of work. And my husband's a writer as well, so that works nicely. And so
Valerie, she won't look at reviews, so if we get a nice review, I'll send it to her. And I always joke and say that if she were ever in politics or something, I would have to have all the newspapers like hidden from her. She could never see.
Like, is it hard? Can you handle the criticism? Can you handle negativity?
Well, I can handle like my editor's criticism, or when Lynn and I are editing each other's work, and if it's constructive and it isn't mean. But I mean, you know, sometimes reviews can be just scathing, and almost nasty, and I don't like to read those. I mean, first of all, I feel like the book is done, so I can't do anything about it. I can't go back and fix it to how you think it should be fixed or whatever.
Let me ask you this question then. This book here. Oh yeah, folks, you didn't think I was going to bring it back to the Wife's Stalker. I'm a professional book launch moderator type guy, and I will tell you all about this book, The Wife's Stalker, which is available from Fairfield University Bookstore right now. Link in the thing. Check it out. Make sure you get it, signed copies. But Val, this book comes out. What say did you have in the cover art of this?
Isn't it fabulous?
This beautiful tome. It is a very evocative. So if you guys can't see that, I'm sure you can see that. It is a, you know, I'm a writer. I should be able to describe this cover, but I cannot. You can see it. It's a woman and sunglasses, and she is looking. I think she's looking like she's done something maybe wrong, little wrong. So did you, how many revisions of the cover? How involved are you guys in the cover art process? Talk to me about that.
We are not. This was the first cover. This was the first iteration. And the Harper team came up with it, and we loved it immediately, and went with it. And that was the same for Mrs. Parrish, that first cover. So
right. I don't have Mrs. Parrish on me right now. I wish I did, because that's a very cool cover. The black. Show that cover. Let's see that cover. Bring that cover out.
Yeah, I think it was the same designer actually who did Parrish as well. So that was the.
Yeah, that cover is very striking.
It is.
Yeah.
It's and I don't, you know, there's an art to it. What do you think makes a cover better than another one? What makes it work? What do you look for in a cover? Do you judge a book by its cover?
Yes.
All the time.
I'll pick it, certainly in a bookstore. I will be drawn to the cover, that strikes me. That screams me. This cover, you know, and says, "Hey, pick me up."
Can you
There's something good
articulate
behind
what it
here.
is, or is it just sort of
I love the color. I mean, the gold. I think the gold and the lettering the way it is, and I think just the mysteriousness of the woman with those dark sunglasses and just seeing part of her face and her lips. It's very summery, but it's different, a little bit different. Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite covers.
And she's very glamorous looking. You know, the sort of burgundy wine lips, full lips, and
that's burgundy wine. See, that's the other thing so how do you guys know all this stuff? Like all the brands, all the colors, all the things. There's so many things.
Because we're girls.
We're girls.
A lot more things. You guys have things everywhere. You have things within things and bags within bags of things and stuff. How do you keep track of all of this?
How do you guys not have bags to carry?
I don't have anything. I have a wallet.
Your stuff.
I have a wallet.
His wife
I don't know what to call. Like, is it a blouse? Is it a shirt?
And when you're with your
What is
wife,
it?
do you say, "Can you carry my key? Can you put the keys in your bag?"
No, keys are in the pocket.
Really?
I travel light. I have a wallet. I have a key. That's it. I do have like a computer. I have like a computer bag, but I don't put anything. There's nothing in it except a computer. But so how do you guys know all the brands and all these? Are you guys fancy people like that? Are you as fancy as your characters?
No, come on, you've seen us now, right?
Right. Everything.
Right?
You can find anything.
Yeah.
I do that. I Google.
I mean,
and
sometimes, yeah.
Look, I dress my characters like they're wearing garanimals. I really don't know how to do it. I think it's very hard.
It's not easy. Yeah, it's not. I think what we did with Parrish, I do remember too talking to our sister-in-law Lynn, who used to be a buyer for a department store, and she's very fashionable. If you're watching, Lynn, hello. And so I got some help from her, and then we would Google things as well and talk to people, a little bit of research, but we didn't get to go and buy all of the beautiful designer clothes for research and try it. Maybe should try that next time.
Yeah, I think you guys need a shopping trip like New York City when the quarantine lifts and it's safe to do so, not beforehand, everybody. So let me ask you this. Val, you said you're the more of the introvert of the pair, and Lynn, you're the extrovert. How do you guys work together? I get it that you guys talk. You kind of said you talk through the process a little bit. You talk through the twist, but there's a process of writing a book and putting it all together and putting all these pieces together. Walk us through a little bit about what it's like to work an extrovert and an introvert, walk into a bar, decide they're going to write a book. How does that go? How does that really work?
We talk every day. We talk first thing in the morning, once the writing begins. Because
coffee or no coffee? Pre-coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee.
So you're having your coffee. The first thing you do, the kids or the husbands or whatever, everyone's out of the way. Coffee's going and you're talking to each other.
Yeah, and we put this in our calendar. Here's what time every day that we're going, because it can change. Depending on our schedules.
And you don't live close enough where you can see each other. You have to do it.
We're what, 5-hour drive, 5-6 hour drive.
Okay.
It's too far. So we FaceTime every morning, and we, at this point when we begin, we know we have a pretty good idea of where the story is going. So we will begin with the first few chapters, and then just decide who's going to, you take this one, I'll take this. But the process has evolved over time, because now maybe I'll write the beginning of a chapter and then I will send it to Lynn, and when it's half finished, and say, would you like to finish this one? I really would like to move on to something else, or vice versa. And we also do that. We might even just...
You'll take a chat, you're halfway done with the chapter, and you'll just say, I don't want to write this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm done here.
Yeah.
I've gone as far as I can go.
Right.
Like that.
And then you guys just do you rip each other's stuff apart? Are you like, hey, Lynn, do you need me to read you what you wrote? Like, do you do that? Are you
No, we say, feel free to edit, add, whatever, and then the other person, and if we don't say that, the other person will say, do you mind if I do a little mild, light editing? And we always say no. And but for the most part, I mean, it hasn't been. We're never mean.
Wait, do you have codes like they use in real estate where they're like cozy means small? Like, so when you say, you know, a good edit means like, whoa, what were you thinking? Were you actually awake when you wrote this? Like, do you have code words for each other to kind of?
Yeah, that might be a good idea, right?
Yeah, no, we
Or
are.
when you get it back from, let's say Valerie's done an edit on your stuff, Lynn, and you get it back, are you ever just in shock, or are you just like, okay, that's good, that's better? Or do you then go back and say, hey Valerie, you edited this, but I'm going to re-edit and I'm sending you this? Like, how does that?
Sometimes, I mean, I'm not usually in shock. That's reserved for when we get our edits, or real edits. Then we're in shock, right? You know, but from.
Do you blame each other when you get your real edits? So you like, I told you. Do you ever do that? Come on. There's got to be some stuff here.
No, we don't. We just
sometimes
have learned to not talk for a couple of days when we get them. No, if there's something that I write or that Valerie writes that really is going kind of off what we think the character is, instead of editing it, we'll get on the phone and say, you know, I know you did such and such, but do you really think she would do that? Can we talk about this? And then we'll get agreement, and either the person will rewrite it or the other one will. But
this is the most collaborative process I've heard. There's got to be a point where you're just like, there's never been a point where you guys are absolutely at odds with each other and you have to like resort to a coin flip, anything like that?
Twice we have had to have the editor come in and settle a dispute without saying here's one situation, here's the other. We're not going to tell you who is who. You decide, because we couldn't make a decision. But we have also thought that we should make up a story about a big fight that we had, because we get this question a lot, and I think people really want to hear, yeah, we just go at it. And
think anybody watches Dynasty and Falcon Crest to see everybody get along? Heck no, we want the drama. That's why
I know, right?
Drama's just in the future. Yeah, you're right. It's fortunately not.
Makes us feel better about our lives when we're having our own squabbles over whatever. So let me ask you guys this. We're running out of time. I can't believe we're running out of time, but we're running out of time. It's gone awesome. It's been very quick. I want to just, you guys know what we're talking about here. The wife Stalker, Liv Constantine. I hope you guys have been having as much fun as I have been having, getting to talk about all this stuff. Let's just ask very quickly. You said you're writing something else. Can you tease it? Can you give us a little indication what's coming down the road?
Oh, for the fourth book, you mean?
Yeah, for the fourth book.
I don't know. I guess I don't think we can say too much about what it's about, other than the fact that this time it's not two women. It's not a dual narrative. It really focuses on one woman who is having some identity issues. That's probably all we can say at this point. And so it's got similar elements to what we write, where we've got some wealthy families. It's very twisty. Hopefully no one will see the ending, but it's a bit different. This is not at all centering around two women going after a man or stolen families, anything like that. So that'll be good.
A slight departure from some of the stuff you've been doing. So that must feel exciting and fun and fresh. And you guys have made it seem like it's still fun.
It is fun. Well, the thing is, we had written one before this one and it wasn't fun. And when we were going to have to go back and edit, and we weren't excited about it. So we put that one on the shelf. And this is the one that we had thought about when we were away together at the book festival. And so we said, should we continue working on the one we wrote, or should we start from scratch? And we decided to start from scratch, which was a little daunting.
Okay, how far did you get on the one that
we finished the first one
and put it away? Yeah.
Do you have an entire, somewhere in the house or on a hard drive, is an entire Liv Constantine unpublished manuscript? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Did I hear this correctly?
Yes.
Exactly.
Hackers, take note. You want to score, you know where to go. You know the drawer. That's pretty cool. So that's very brave to do. That's what made you say, you know what, I'm going to start again?
It was daunting, as Lynn said, because we had a deadline, and so we had already used up 4 months of it.
Right. We just didn't feel like we thought it was going to be a struggle. We couldn't really, we sent it, to a freelance editor at the time, the other one. And what a lot of her comments were, really spot on. And we just thought there were so many structural changes that we would need to make it work. And we really didn't know where we wanted to take it. And we didn't feel excited. And we just thought it's going to be just as much work. We're really excited about this other storyline. Let's just do this other one. And we can always come back to this one. Maybe it's just not the right time. And we just decided not to force it because we knew, like with Parrish and with The Wife Stalker, they came easily. The second book that we wrote was harder to write, and we struggled a bit with that. And so we just want to write something that we feel is flowing, and that one wasn't. So we just said, all right, let's go for it.
Right.
We
Wow.
yeah.
That's very brave, very hard to do. But you got to follow your instincts, right? So good for you guys on that. And I'm obviously wishing you guys all the success. What is kind of the plans for The Wife Stalker? What do you guys have on your agenda? What do you want people to know about the book, where you're doing stuff, what's happening, anything that you want to share, make sure everyone's aware of? So
we have a few more virtual events, and they're on our website. I think we were going to do Murder by the Book. I don't know exactly all the dates.
Which is such a good looking website, by the way. I'm like, I got to up my game. I just even listening to Craig introduce you guys. My bio seriously reads like Daniel breathes and writes and has a dog and a wife. I kids, and I need to. You guys have all these cool like things that happened. I need to up my game, and it's all on that website. That website's very slick. What is the URL? Where should we send people?
liveconstantine.com.
liveconstantine.com.
Yeah.
That was,
so everything is on there, and we're doing, I think mostly Zoom things, right?
Libraries,
Zoom.
library festivals, which is exciting. We love libraries.
Yeah.
So Cuyahoga Library in Ohio, but all virtual events.
Yeah.
So anyone can join these events. They can go to your website. They can join these events if they want.
They're all live.
Obviously, it's not going to be as good as the event that you all have just seen.
No, this was the
I can guarantee that.
What we call the whatever. The highlight, the pinnacle. Start at the top.
Pinnacle, yes. Sure.
Let me just see if there's any last questions we have from our audience. Our audience has been amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Who is Crystal and who is Alexis? So I'm going to say I'm Crystal.
I didn't watch that. I watched Dallas.
Dynasty.
They are.
Oh, we're doing, that's our Dynasty reference. I made a reference to a show that I know absolutely nothing about. So I'm looking at that question going,
me either.
Who is Crystal?
You guys never watched Dynasty? I lived for that show.
I you know what? I think I probably have seen a few episodes, but I feel badly because we had this fun game that we were going to do, the Witch Sister. And we're running out of time. So I think instead of getting into the Witch Sister game, well, you know what? Let's do 2 Witch Sisters, and then we're going to bring Craig back on and say goodnight to everybody. So the first question I have is, which sister, and I could take a guess because I don't know the answers to a lot of these. Which sister has 4 sons? 4 sons. Which sister has 4 sons? Which sister has 4 sons? Which sister has 4 sons?
Alexis.
Yeah. Alexis?
Yes.
Alexis has 4 sons?
Is she the bad one?
Yes.
Oh, you have 4 sons. You have 4?
I have 4 sons, yep.
Where are they all? Where's everyone?
They have flown the coop. So I have here locally in Maryland one, Florida, Colorado, Toronto. They're all over the place.
And I'm going to take a guess at the last one here that one of you used to get a wake-up call from your high school vice principal. I'm thinking that might not be you, Valerie. Is there a chance that I'm right about that? That Lynn may
be right about that.
And how did you know that?
I don't know. I just went with my gut intuition. I just followed my instincts there, and so you did. I did.
I had a hard time waking up in the morning. I used to be a night owl, and my mom was away somewhere, and it was just my brother, Michael, and I at home. And I guess the vice principal's son was dating a Greek girl. And so he was just very nice to me. And I guess I must have been coming in late every day. And I said, oh, well, my mom's away and my brother doesn't wake me. So he said, well, I'll call you and wake you. So then all of a sudden my brother's like, well, Lynn, the vice principal, what is going on? He's calling to wake you up. So that I always get teased in my family about. It only happened once. You would think it was like, it wasn't a regular.
Now it's a thing. That's all right. It's a thing. Listen, I really want to thank you guys for letting me celebrate this.
No, thank you.
It's been great.
Stalker, and I think we're going to bring our dear friend Craig back on the screen.
He's back.
For our evening.
And also, Dave, I mean, the new husband for everybody, because that's a new book out too, and I want everybody to know.
If you want to be up all night, definitely read that.
It's a book. It's out there.
It's a great book.
All right.
It's a great book.
This is your day. This is not my day. I've had my
I
day.
know, but still.
We can share.
Yeah.
We'll share with you.
All right.
Thank you,
Craig,
everybody. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight. This was truly an amazing evening. Again, if you want to order the book, I'm posting the link one last time. We can personalize if you order either today or tomorrow. And if you feel more comfortable calling me up during the day at the bookstore, you can find our phone number on our website, on Facebook. And finally, if you feel more comfortable picking your book up in person, you may do that after May 27th, when we are reopening Fairfield University Bookstore. Again, thank you all, and happy reading.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Daniel. This is great.
You, Craig.
You guys were fabulous. Wishing you guys much success, everybody. The wife, Stalker, get out there, get it. Follow them on Facebook, Liv Constantine. Follow them on Insta, Liv Constantine. Follow them on Twitter, Liv Constantine. Go to their website, Liv Constantine. There's a theme here.
There's a theme.
Thank you again. I want you guys parting words to your fans, because they want to hear from you, not me. So Lynn and Valerie, could you just your parting words?
Sure. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait until I can start to see some of you again at events and at bookstores. And thank you for reading. So thank you for all you do, and please reach out, as Daniel said, on Instagram or Twitter. It's actually Liv Constantine too, on Twitter and Instagram, and we love to talk to you guys on that.
We love you, and any emails that you send, we love to answer. So please give us feedback, and thank you.
Thank you.
Great, terrific, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thanks a lot,
Take care of
guys.
yourselves.
Bye.
Bye now.